September 11th, with all of the terrorism scares, there are countless stories where Muslims and people that happen to dress like that or have a particular religion have been specifically harassed by the government. You know, because you happen to look
now, Muslims
a certain way.
Have been polled and they did support George Bush in the last election? Really?
Yes. And so in the 2004 election, they were specifically looking to support someone other than George Bush because of the hostility and the suspicion that has been aimed towards that particular, you know, ethnic group. Again, most of the people who, when they go through the airport security, you know, if we think that airport security is demeaning and, you know, inconvenient for us, apparently if you dress differently than...
And that goes against the way libertarians, what we believe, the basic core, one of the basic core beliefs is that people should be treated as individuals.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to hold you responsible. I'm going to hold you responsible for your actions, not everyone that's your color, everyone that's your religion, everyone from your economic rung on the ladder. Yes. I'm going to hold you responsible. You're responsible for what you do.
That's what the Libertarian Party is all about: individual rights and personal responsibility.
Now, what about? Go ahead.
And I was very pleased because I was able to speak to several Muslim organizations during the campaign and explain the libertarian message, and they were very receptive.
Wonderful. Now, let's say women. What about women? Why should women vote libertarian?
Because even though the Declaration of Independence says all men are created equal, unfortunately, that's what they meant at the time.
Right.
Women were not allowed to vote. Women were not allowed to own property. And over the course of time, we've come to realize that individuals have rights. And fortunately, women have been, we have recognized the rights of women. We certainly haven't given them that right. They've always had it. We have just stopped infringing on that right.
Right.
Women can now own property, they can own businesses. I recognize that there's still not a real parity, but I'm hoping that we can move in that direction. And because libertarians believe in individual rights, I would think that any subgroup, women, minorities, would all come to the Libertarian Party because you can be heard and you can participate as an individual and have an equal share in the control of the government.
So during the war, you had a wonderful commercial that said, George Bush wants to be your war president, I want to be your peace president. Talk a little about that and what motivated you to do that commercial. I thought it was wonderful.
The libertarians believe in only for self-defense. Nobody would believe that we have to stand here and just let another country attack us. And I found it somewhat ludicrous that people would accuse me of being a pacifist because I was opposed to the war in Iraq. And I go, well, wait a minute. We're the libertarians. We're the Second Amendment folks that think you should carry a gun. You're going to call us pacifists.
I sometimes refer to libertarians as pacifists, a pacifist that carries a gun just in case.
Right. And so the question really is not whether or not the United States should go to war, but whether we should have gone to war in this particular instance. Did Iraq really pose a clear and present danger? Were there weapons of mass destruction? Was Saddam Hussein a direct threat to the United States? And I don't think that those questions have truly been answered. And I think that when the World Trade Center came down, which is definitely a terrible tragedy, we were told over and over again that it was Osama bin Laden.
Right.
And it was Osama bin Laden over and over again. I mean, within 12 hours, they told us who it was. Now, I don't know how they managed to come to that conclusion so quickly.
It seems to me, I mean, I don't want to confuse the issue here, but he could have just taken credit for it.
Right.
Because, you know, he wants to.
Right. And then we switched, somewhere along the line, we switched from Osama bin Laden to Saddam Hussein. And I don't remember when we switched bad guys. And so I don't believe that the United States had, you know, clear motive.
Yeah. In order to kill people, you know, you need absolutely clear an absolute threat. Now, whoever is responsible for 9/11, and it probably was Osama bin Laden, I can accept that. We should apprehend them.
Right.
But it seems to me, we haven't gotten him. Why would you then go after someone who, even if he was responsible for terrorism in some way, and 9/11 by association, then he would be 1% or 0.5% responsible for 9/11, when the guy 99 or 100% responsible for 9/11 is still running around.
Right.
So now you had we tried to appeal in this election to conservatives. Now, libertarians, obviously, I come from a more liberal background. I always say, I think that liberals and conservatives, all Americans, can find something that they like in the Libertarian Party.
Absolutely.
I'm an anti-Big Brother liberal, and a lot of conservatives talk about small government as well. Now, so everyone has a reason to come into the Libertarian Party, in my opinion, and we draw traditionally from both sides. What did you see? What was the response from people coming from the different parties and different backgrounds, different regions?
I had wonderful response. It didn't get a lot of media attention, but for example, I had about a 2 or 3 hour window when I was not campaigning. Got onto an elevator, dressed casually. I had a Badnarik for President shirt on. And in the elevator, 5 or 6 people were there, and the gentleman said, "Badnarik for President? I've never heard of him." I said, "Hi, I'm Michael Badnarik. I'm running for President of the United States." Suddenly, 6 people on the elevator are ready to vote for me.
Really?
And my only qualifications at that moment, I was not George Bush and I was not John Kerry.
But most people were kind of trying to think which one of these two was the lesser of the two evils. It didn't seem like either side was really voting for, the Democrat or the Republican. They seemed to be voting for, against the other guy.
Right.
More so. But why aren't there better choices in America?
Well, because in the debates, they only allowed George Bush and John Kerry. And you're only being told 2 choices. David Cobb, who is the Green Party presidential candidate, and I got arrested in St. Louis attempting to attend the presidential debates. We crossed the police line, and we were immediately arrested, handcuffed, and we were put into a police van. Well, 20 minutes later, the police officer opens up the door of the van and says, "Which one of you guys is a presidential candidate?" And I said, "Well, we are both presidential candidates. We are here at a presidential debate." And I said, "And you have us in handcuffs." I said, "Can you explain that to me?" And he said, "Let me get back to you on that." So it was very, very interesting. I was concerned a little bit when we were trying to cross through the riot police because they have no sense of humor whatsoever.
Right.
Once we were through the police line, we were treated very respectfully. It was clear that we were not there to do any, violent harm, and so it was mostly an administrative procedure after that.
So no one clubbed you or anything like that?
Nobody clubbed me, but there was a period of time when I wasn't sure.
Right. Well, that's a great story. Are there what are some of your other experiences running for office that really stick out?
Well, I think that the campaign was a huge success because each state affiliate was working hard. I think there was an unwritten competition to see which state could keep me the busiest. And Indiana, for example, I woke up at just before 7 o'clock and did my first radio interview from 7 a.m. till 8. Shower, shaved, get in the car. I did 3 interviews on the way to South Bend, an interview with the South Bend newspaper, another interview with a newspaper and radio station, 3 more radio interviews on the way home, the last interview from 6 to 7 p.m. at my mother's home, and then from 7 to 11 we did a fundraiser. So from 7 a.m. until 11 p.m. I was pushing the libertarian message, and John Earhart and I got 10 minutes for lunch.
Wow. So who's John Earhart? He's the...
John Earhart was my partner. He was my personal assistant and traveled with me
Now talk about, this was a great story too, of how you won the Libertarian Party's nomination. You were